Uh, Good morning, everybody. Um, I'd like to open this Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee meeting for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Um, so, okay, I'll just do a roll call and see who's here. Um, Members, Doug Rose,
Here.
Jen Carberg,
Here.
Tim Brain,
Here.
Joanna Roach,
Here.
Matt Fee,
Here.
um, Gary Beller,
Here.
and the chair is here, obviously, and staff, Leah Hill.
Here, and I think you forgot Liz Phelps.
I'm sorry, Liz Phelps,
That's okay. Thanks, Leah. I'm here.
Vince Murphy,
Here.
and then anticipated speakers. Um, um, what is your name? Kim, is it Duskin? I'm sorry.
No problem. Katie Deskin here.
Katie Duskin, I'm sorry, it just says K, so
It just says K. I know. I'm sorry about that.
that's okay. And Vince Murphy. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read the script. Good morning. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Please be aware that other people may be able to see you, and take care not to share your device's screen. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please silence all devices and phones. For items with public comment, after committee members have finished their discussion on an agenda item, the chair will afford members of the public up to 3 minutes to speak. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their name and any affiliations to give public comment. You must be recognized by the chair and speak through the chair. There is to be no crosstalk with others in attendance. To be recognized for a public comment, use the raised hand feature by clicking on the reaction button, the React tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then click on the raised hand button. When you've finished your comment, please select the lower hand button. It's important for me to note that TREC isn't required by law to take public comment. We do so because we need your invaluable input. We view public comment as a privilege, so please remain respectful in your comments and do not disparage other speakers or the members of this committee. Okay. Okay. We'll take public comment now on items that are not on the agenda. Okay. Approval of the minutes of September 9, 2025, October 14th, 2025, and October 28th, 2005.
Move approval?
Are you moving on approval for all three, Matt?
Yes.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, so for all three, roll call vote. Doug Rose,
Aye.
Jen Carberg,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce. Okay. Um,
Peter,
yes,
there's Gary's on here too.
Gary, I'm sorry.
I approve.
Gary.
I approve.
Okay. All right. Presentation and discussion with Arcadis about coastal resilience districts.
Great. And I'm happy to share my screen. Leah, does that work best?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Right. Okay. I will do so. Good morning, everyone. It's really great to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Katie Deskin. I'm with Arcadis. I'm a senior hazard mitigation and resilience planner. And we'll just get my screen up. Okay. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So I'm here today to speak with you about coastal resilience districts. Been working with Vince and Leah to revisit the topic of coastal resilience districts, what existing authorities are, and what we might be working on for the next upcoming months, especially looking towards the 2026 annual town meeting. So we'll start with a brief overview recap of the topic, bringing everyone back up to speed, focusing on existing authorities under Bylaw Chapter 66, and discussing a potential engagement strategy as well as home rule petition and what this could look like as far as next steps looking towards next year. To start us off, I'll actually hand it over to Vince to give a brief overview of kind of the history of this topic and what we've been turning our attention to in recent months.
Thank you, Katie. So the history of how we develop the coastal resilience districts might help at this point, and for members who weren't present from the start. You might remember that there was a joint meeting between the Select Board and the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee. There was 2 workshops in March 2023 and again in April 2023. Primarily on the second of those 2 workshops is where the first discussions of a funding model for Baxter Road type situation came about. Later that summer in July 23, it was presented to the Select Board by Arcadis at the time, by Kate Edwards, as opposed to Katie Duskin, who we're now welcoming to assisting this project. And it was about that time that it evolved from a Baxter Road issue to an island-wide issue, a funding model for all coastal resilience projects in the CRP for island-wide. Over the summer, KP Law, primarily Vicky Marsh, Town Council Vicky Marsh, drafted up the drafts, and we looked at it in 2 frames, both as a town bylaw and a home rule petition. In September 23, we brought it to the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, sought some feedback, and the feedback, they were very similar, differences between the bylaw and home rule petition, but there were the crack advice at the time, and the vote was unanimous to advance both. In December, we finished drafting text, and it was approved by CRAC and the Select Board, and then it went for town meeting in May. Many of you were there, whether you were on CRAC or not at the time, it was irrelevant, you were there, and you might remember that the home rule petition was up first that day. The conversation was brief on that one, and a member of the public made a motion to, forgive me, I'm going to get my terminology wrong, effectively set it aside. The conversation was, and the vote was within 3 minutes. Then after that, the bylaw was heard shortly afterwards, and that passed by a safe margin. So we then spent the last couple of, the last year and a half trying to look at how to enact both and how to resurrect the home rule petition, and that's essentially where we are now. Happy to pass that back to Katie now that we understand the history of where this has been and how we got to this point.
Thanks, Vince. So a brief overview on coastal resilience districts. In order for a project to qualify for a coastal resilience district designation, also CRD, the project must mitigate the effects of coastal hazards such as coastal erosion, sea level rise, and coastal flooding. The project also must benefit a public asset such as a town beach, parking lot, an access point, town road, or other town infrastructure. So if a project solely benefits private properties, it's not eligible to be designated as a coastal resilience district. There are 2 different types of coastal resilience districts that can be designated. The first is the Islands Coastal Resilience District, or ICRD, which are for projects that benefit the entire island. And then if a project has a more limited range of benefits, one smaller geographical area of beneficiaries, then that could be designated as a sub-district. And the goal of coastal resilience districts is to create a funding mechanism for coastal resilience projects where the people that benefit from that project, whether it's the entire island or a specific sub-district, smaller group of people, they help pay for the project through betterments over time. As Vince mentioned, so the existing bylaw, Chapter 66, it was approved in 2024 and adopted. The coastal resilience districts, there are existing authorities under this existing chapter in the bylaws. So right now, the town has the ability to review projects to confirm whether they meet those requirements or not for a coastal resilience district, determine whether whether the project qualifies as an island-wide district or a sub-district. And then if it is a sub-district, the town has the ability to determine who will benefit from the project and draw the boundaries of that sub-district. At that point, once the boundaries are drawn, the town must bring the project to annual town meeting for approval of both appropriation of the initial funds to pay for the project upfront and the approval of the use of betterments within that mapped coastal resilience district. So that mapped sub-district area will have to be brought along with information about the project. If that is approved, then the select board will set the betterments according to Massachusetts state law. As Vince mentioned, we're also thinking about home rule petition, and if we wanted to resurrect this and put this forward again. And so wanted to touch on that here, that if home rule were approved, what's changes with the process versus what is already in place under the current authorities, and what would change with home rule. It's subtle, but does simplify things. So if home rule were approved, when the project goes to annual town meeting, it would be for approval of initial appropriation, but you don't need to necessarily show the mapped coastal resilience district within which residents would be charged betterments. So it's a subtle difference, but simplifies the information that would be put forth at annual town meeting. The setting of betterments, either way, would still be done according to Massachusetts state law. We have been having, we had a conversation with Vicky last week and have been reviewing the text from the 2024 Home Rule petition article. And Vicky suggested some initial revisions to that article if we wanted to think about moving this forward. And a quick overview of the article. So there's 3 sections, and the purpose of the first section is to describe the effects of erosion and flooding, which would need to be addressed by a project within a coastal resilience district. It also authorizes the establishment of the island's coastal resilience district. Section 2 authorizes the town to establish the sub-districts. And Section 3 is where it gets into the assessment of betterments. So it authorizes the assessment of betterments within either the island-wide or the sub-districts based on who will benefit from the public improvements. A slight change of topic, but one thing that's very related is thinking about, as these projects come forward, hopefully in the next couple of years, would see a project that would be eligible for a coastal resilience district. How would this process start? And specifically, what could be a good strategy for engaging the public around these types of projects? We came up with 3 goals that we think would be really important for early public engagement for coastal resilience projects. The first is that it would be early engagement before the beneficiaries and betterments have been proposed. So really focusing in on the importance of the project, the resilience benefit that it provides, and the proposed solution that's moving forward. So moving focus away from who pays, who's in, who's out of the districts, and really just focusing on the benefit of the solution and why this project is being put forth. The final goal would be inclusive engagement. Making it open to all residents, of course, but with a real specific focus on those living in the area surrounding the project. To help guide that process of early public engagement, we drafted a couple maps. So there's one on this slide and then there's one on the next one as well. Would love anyone's feedback on these maps to help guide where those engagement efforts would take place. So these districts, or map of engagement areas, we shouldn't call them districts because as coastal resilience districts. So we're calling them engagement areas for a slight shift in terminology. And these areas are based specifically on the coastal resilience plan and the areas and different projects that were identified in that plan. So if you pull up the 2, these will match exactly. So these areas would guide where public engagement efforts might occur for a project in one of these areas. To speak to the goals that were on the previous slide, of having inclusive engagement, we're not saying, you're in this area, you're out. We have the areas overlapping with each other. So just recognizing that this would be kind of anyone's welcome, but here are our areas of focus. The second version of this map, instead of having full island coverage, it just shrinks the areas a little bit to be more focused on the coastal areas specifically. Just recognizing that for coastal resilience projects, it is going to be those areas of coastal risk that will need the most focused engagement. So 2 different versions, and just about at the end here, but would love anyone's feedback on these different maps. Last slide to kind of bring this all together. We're thinking about what's next, both with the home rule petition and with engagement, and hopefully as we start to see a coastal resilience project or two in upcoming years, how can we best prepare? So some questions we're thinking about in the next few months is how can we best inform the public ahead of annual town meeting, and are there specific stakeholders engaged, and general feedback on that engagement process. And I can pause there. Vince, anything to add before we get into discussion?
No, not really. You covered it extremely well. Thank you, Katie. The only thing that I could possibly say that would be helpful at this time is time is a great way to reflect on things. Over the last couple of weeks, as we were relooking at this internally, I wish we could go back and change the name. We can't. It's in an existing bylaw. If we had to go and do an amendment to the bylaw, quite difficult. But I still kind of have just come to the realization in the last few weeks, districts might not have been the most comfortable of term, but we can still colloquially now call them coastal resilience communities. That would probably be a better fit and better description of what we're really aiming at here.
Thank you, Vince. So I think that's it from us. If anyone has any comments, questions.
Well, I think the public will see right through communities and go right to districts, because we've already brought this to them, and the ones that have their heels dug in will stay dug in, and I just think it'll be an uphill battle. Not that I'm against it, but we all know the players.
I don't want to change the name. I just wish that I had thought of that years ago. Is the only real point.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Katie. Yes. Okay. Matt V, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple things. How do we best inform the public? Well, first off, I don't think we should go to town meeting. I think the difference between the betterments, the difference between the Coastal Resiliency District and getting approval or not is not very much. It just means that we can, not tell people how much we're going to spend. Well, we have to tell them how much we're going to spend when we do we go to town meeting anyway. And so I kind of think that we need to get on to the next step, which is what projects are we going to better and how are we going to better them? And administration and this group and whoever, we have to start working on that and then do the stakeholder the outreach, etc. Once we've done this with traditional betterments a few times and people trust that it's done well and we've had a good process and it's fair, then, we could go to town meeting and the town meeting will embrace it. But right now, I think they think that there's something, something devious and we want to just charge them too much. And so I just think we should get going with what we're allowed to do now, use a few good examples so that people feel comfortable. And then, 3-5 years from now, we'll have this thing figured out. Here's my take. Thank you.
Can I speak to that point a little bit, Peter?
Why don't we wait till Christy goes, and then Christy might have things that you would want to respond to, and you can get them in one swoop. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I just had a question. Is it Katie? Is that right? Hi, Katie. Thank you. I just had a question. Unlike the areas, I know the coastal resilience areas that on your map showed a lot of overlapping of those areas with others. Is it safe to say that the coastal resilience districts have no overlap, that they are defined lines? Because I'm just wondering about how funding works. Is someone going to be on the hook for 2 districts? So if it's defined lines, then I think that's good. I just was curious about that. And then Vince, I think I think districts does define those areas pretty well. I think the communities, it just seems like it's very broad, and I think that the defined lines of a district, I think district works pretty well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Go ahead, Vince, and then I'll get to Doug.
Super. So Matt had some interesting points. They were developed at the same time, the home rule petition and the bylaw. So there's a lot of very similar points between them. There's also a lot of overlap between them. And Vicky, who I wish was here today, she's unavailable, did some editing to try and refocus the home rule petition. However, it still must be said that it's a benefit, but a weak benefit. To kind of further support Matt's point, I would question if we should advance it this year, or like Matt just said, get a few wins under the belt before going back for the home rule petition. The idea being, does the town, the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, the select board, you name it, want to expend the political capital trying to get something across a town meeting that's already had one stumble, for want of a better term, rather than trying to get a few wins first? Like the benefits in this are mild. They're there, but they're mild. So is it a good idea? So that might be something that Doug may also want to opine on.
Before Doug goes, not sure if the public will view the wins as wins. They'll get a preview of what could be coming their way and then get dug in and fight it. So I'm sort of half on, half off that idea. But go ahead, Doug.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Vince and Katie. Just a couple of thoughts, and I shared these with Leah offline prior to the meeting. I let her know that I was going to be talking. First, I have to just let everybody know I'm recusing on anything that relates specifically to anything on Baxter Road or the geotubes. But more broadly, the whole question of CRDs and the need for them, I've done some reflecting as well, as Vince had mentioned. And I think one thing I should confess to is I have some regrets about supporting the need for a CRD of any kind. And that's because when I voted in favor of moving forward on these things, I don't think I fully grasped what is the real added value of having a CRD authority versus having the right to do betterments, which town currently has. There's discussion in Katie's deck about how CRDs are really a funding mechanism, and I understand it as that. And yet, to my way of reckoning, it feels as though 85 or 90% of that funding mechanism already exists today. So I guess, like Matt, I'm questioning: is there a time sensitivity to this that would require us to move forward? I have my doubts. I also think, honestly, if we are going to make this a priority for a future all-town meeting in 2027, for instance, I think it would be wise for us to get super crisp and clear about what is the advantage to the homeowner, to the property owner, not to the town. If it's a convenience to the town, that's not a very motivating benefit for me as a voter. So I think you just have to be super clear. I think there's a good reason why it didn't move forward at town meeting. I don't think people quite understood it. I think some people actively misunderstood it as some kind of, as Matt says, a devious, tax scheme of some kind, which obviously it's not intended to be that way. I would, before I end, I would just also mention, I do believe, because the funding mechanism applies to project-specific work, the idea of establishing a district within which there could be multiple projects just raises unnecessary confusion, if you will. If I live at Brant Point, for instance, there could be 3, 4, 5 separate coastal resilience projects, one pertaining to road raising, one pertaining to sewer work, and so on and so forth. And so in each case, each project's going to have its own capital cost, its own potentially operating cost. The math of each project is unique, and the footprint of beneficiaries is going to be unique and specific to that individual project. So I guess coming full circle, I'm having my own doubts about the need for or the benefit of CRDs. I think Vince and Leah probably have a much clearer perspective on that. As a member of CRAC, I have to confess I'm not entirely crystal clear. And for that reason, I think it would be wise to wait. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Doug. Go ahead, Gary.
A comment. Before people were talking about betterments versus these districts. I thought some of the slides earlier were helpful because they suggested that if we go to the town meeting, we go to the town meeting without any asking for a particular amount of money just to create the districts so that the folks wouldn't be troubled that we're asking them to start making payments. But the real question I have is, when we have done the betterments in the past, are we required to go to town meeting? How does that get occurred? Do we have to, if we don't have to go to town meeting to get the betterments, then it's obviously an easier way to proceed. That was my question.
Okay, Gary, and I see Vincent nodding his head. So, if we could just get, for everyone's benefit, a clear explanation of the difference between what we have now, what was adopted at town meeting 24, and what the home rule petition gives us if we get that approved. If we get that explained, and then Vince and Katie help us on that.
Yes, so I'll take first go at this if that's all right. Again, I wish Vicky Marsh was here. She explained it to me. I wrote it down. I'm not confident even writing what I wrote down. Reading what I wrote down. So she explained it in terms of it gives it's about presenting information at town meeting and the type of information that's presented at town meeting. That's one of the key differences. So that you don't necessarily have to have all of the mapping present for town meeting, but getting back to Gary's initial question, you do have to take each individual project back to town meeting for funding. So for the sake of argument, Gary used a Brand Point example. I'll stick with that. So if we're going to do a road raising project in the Brand Point area, everyone in the zone that benefits from that will still have to be in a mapped area per the bylaw. So we already mostly have what we need.
Mostly. So what's the rest of it that we need?
It gives, so my understanding is that the home rule petition adds some kind of an extra layer of surety, but this kind of gets to something that Doug and Matt were hinting at. It's untested. We should probably test the bylaw with a project first.
To see if we need that surety?
Correct.
I don't know. Could you be a little bit more specific of what that surety is? Is that we're backed up by another level of government, or
With the state's permission, correct.
okay, so that once the home rule petition passes and is signed by the government, that makes it a law, correct?
I really wish Vicky was here because I actually don't know the answer to that question, if it makes it a law.
I'm fairly certain that makes it a law, but us, the town, can create bylaws, and so I'm sure Matt's going to correct me. The voters at town meeting, we can create bylaws, but to make it a law, like the creation of the land bank, that was a law that was initiated by us in 1983. That made it a law, so that gives it more legal teeth, I guess. I'm just casting things out here. Anyway, go ahead, Joanna.
Peter, sorry, can I just jump in before Joanna to
Okay, go
help
ahead.
clarify? So
Yep.
when we spoke to Vicky, the bylaw, you have to bring the betterments and the appropriation to town meeting. If it's just the home rule petition, you only bring the appropriation of the funds. It gives more flexibility to the select board to determine like if there's a tiered situation for the betterments or not. So that's kind of like I guess the main difference, but it's not a huge difference between what we can already do and what the home rule petition would allow. And then I just want to remind the committee that home rule petitions generally take years to get approved up at the state level. So just keep that in mind.
All right, thank you, Leah.
Well-
Go ahead, Joanna.
Well, this was going to be my question. What makes us think that they're going to approve this as a home rule petition? I mean, this is not something that is a slam dunk by any means, and it could take 3 to 5 years.
To talk about that, if I can, any home rule petition isn't guaranteed. So
Right.
it's how home rule petitions work, but like, how can you guarantee anything once it goes? It's the town's choice whether to send it forward or not, is
I mean,
our opinion on what we need as a town and county.
right. I mean, I expect this to be debated at the FinCom, right? Because we are not in the practice of loving to send home rule petitions up to the State House unless we have to, unless there is a clear reason to do it. This will be hard to convince a yes vote.
All right, thank you, Joanna. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Sarah.
Thank you. My comment is more just like touches on, I think, what someone else already said was that I think when we had talked about this or the version of this after town meeting last year was that it really needs a project to be an example to bring it forward. Without a project or a specific ask, then as we talk about betterments, we're using hypothetical examples of how it would be with funding, and that is one, confusing to people, but also for those who aren't familiar with our committee and know that we are trustworthy people or just, distrustful of government in general, I could see how it would feel like we're setting this up and asking people to approve something without knowing what they're approving, right? They don't know amounts of money or size of projects because we're also not providing that for them. So I don't know what the answer is. Like, I don't know if we, wait to do something like this until we have an example project, or if I'm misreading, if there's more if there's more benefit to specifically the districts than just what I'm thinking about with terms of funding. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going back to what it's been said a couple of times. Doug said it, I think, pretty clearly. I don't really understand the difference between just betterments the way they're set up now to address these particular projects versus calling it coastal resilient districts. What's the difference besides a name?
Do you want to answer that, Vince, before I go to Hillary, or do you want me to wait?
I'll give it quickly, if that's all right. So this gets back to how both were set up. So we did kind of write them as either or. They were written together as companion pieces. And one could have done in place of the other. And that's the situation we ended up in. It was the recommendation from the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee to try and pursue both. But because bylaws function a bit differently to home rule petitions, and you had to structure it according to how each would work and the framing of each as they go to two different authorities. So effectively, we have most everything we need, but because of the difference in framing, because one is a home rule petition, one is a bylaw, there are small, subtle differences. And that's where this gets into the confusion, because there's so many comparisons between them. If we had the home rule petition instead of the bylaw, we'd have almost everything we'd need as well.
Thanks, Vince. Go ahead, Hillary.
Thanks so much. I want to put support behind what Doug and Matt are saying. I think we can spend a lot of time and a lot of political capital arguing for this home rule petition, and we don't get very much for it and it can actually set us back. Whereas if we back a project, we have to be totally transparent about what the project is, who it affects, how much it's going to cost, and talk to people about the betterments. I think the more we start talking about betterments, the more people will get used to hearing about betterments, and it'll make things easier for us going forward. I wanted to address the home rule petition question because I have been a lead petitioner of 3 home rule petitions, 2 of which have gone to the State House. So I've been up there, at hearings and everything. The home rule petitions fall into 2 categories. Ones that the town has passed and no one is really going against it, and that no one could be, like in the case of our housing bank bill, the town is all in favor of it. Everyone in our county is in favor of it, but the real estate board in the Commonwealth is against it. And so that is why it's not passing. If it's or it could be that divisions within the town who deserve deference because they're like official appointed people could be against something. That would be another reason why it doesn't pass. With something like this, if we did do the home rule petition, I think the thing to keep in mind is that the reason why our non-controversial, simple home rule petitions like our charter changes and everything are taking multiple legislative sessions to pass. Each legislative session is 2 years. If it doesn't pass within the 2 years, it expires. We have to send it again. The reason why they're taking multiple to pass is because no one is going up and asking Senator Sear or Rep. Moakley to sit down with the committee chair and say, please, could you please pass this? If you don't do that, they tend to just they just don't get to it because there's no squeaky wheel. So that, just by way of sharing my experience, I think a home rule petition is something that if we need to send it, it's something we need to do. There's no reason why we shouldn't do it, but we should expect to have somebody go up there and ask our rep or our senator. We should tell them that it's coming, and we should ask them if they'll sit down with the committee chair to get the thing passed. That's been my experience. Thanks.
Thank you, Hillary. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, sort of. Gary made a good point talking about how some areas might have 4 or 5 different projects at any one time. And I think so that gets me thinking about, say, the future. If we actually, do we have what we need right now, even in what we're asking for? And we might not. One of the tough parts about betterments is you have to know how much it's going to cost, and then it's done. So if you have something like sand you put on every year, you have to bring that forward every year and add that on. And so there might be, if we were going to do coastal resiliency districts and maybe call them something different in the future, I think the experiences that we would have with different projects might tell us what other items would be in there. Maybe we'd want something that says multiple projects can be run through the same account. Or maybe we want something which a betterment is different and can't do that. Maybe we want something that we could say, hey, this is going to have sand on it, and that charge is going to be added yearly. And we get the state to bless us to change it slightly from the existing betterments. So there may be an advantage to this, but I don't think that we know, I'm making 2 things up out of thin air right now. We will know that if we run some projects and see how it goes. So, so I think that there may be a use for this. I just don't think we're quite there yet. And I think Hillary hit it exactly right. We'd spend a lot of time in Capitol and town meeting. I voted for it to go to town meeting prior. I had some of these reservations before, but I thought it was a good conversation for the town to have, so we had it. I think as a group, we need to get, and as a town, we need to get a few examples done, and then see where this shakes out. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Last Wednesday, I had the pleasure of standing in for Leah and giving our 3rd quarter report to the select board. And then afterwards, town manager Libby Gibson had a bunch of questions for me and for Leah and for Vince. And she asked about the betterments. I think she meant to say CRDs. And I'd be interested, you know, at least she's thinking about it. I'd be interested in hearing what Libby would say. Would she agree with what this board, with what this committee seems to be saying about not going right now for a home rule petition? That doesn't mean that if she said she wanted it, that we would recommend to do it. But I would like to hear from town administration, just to, you know, just for us, just to hear what they think. Is this something they want? Maybe Matt, you can answer that, but she certainly was interested in it. Go ahead, Doug.
Thanks, Peter. I'll make it quick. One other factor I didn't mention is that the state now has rolled out its definition of coastal resilience districts, and it's quite different from the one that we are putting forward. So I think there's a natural, there's a bunch of reasons why I think it might be wise to pause, which I think I'm hearing many people say, until we have a greater clarity as exactly what we want to build into this, if anything. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Can I speak on that, please?
Yeah, in just a minute. And I just, you know, expediency is going to be something that we're going to have to come to terms with the closer we get to water being higher and higher and higher and higher. And we don't necessarily know exactly what's coming. And if we're slowed down by something in, you know, that works in a 2-year cycle and we have to keep going back, and that's a hindrance, we're going to wish that we just went with what we got already right now. Go ahead, Vince.
Thank you. So Doug is referencing the state's coast resilience districts. I've been involved with it. Leah's been involved with it throughout its development, and it's the CZM, Office of Coastal Zone Management, that's effectively the driver behind it. And what the purpose of that project is to do risk assessments. They've done it by district, to do risk assessments by coastal areas around the state. Confusingly, they did that, and we also at the time realized that they were going to call these coastal resilience districts for risk, whereas we had it for a funding model. And what we then said is, oh crikey, we have to rename. So we added islands coastal resilience districts to provide a differentiation from what the state had been working on. And we came up with that name when they were developing it, their coastal resilience districts for risk. 2-ish years ago. Oh, yeah, 2 years ago. So yes, they are working on something with the same name, but for quite a different purpose. Their districts have no funding or even projects to reduce risk. They're just assessing risk. By the way, something that the town did in the first half of the development of the CRP, we assessed risk, but we went one stage further and we responded to the highest risks with the 40 projects that are in the CRP.
Thank you, Vince. Joanna, go ahead.
What's the requirement for our committee? Are we voting on this? I mean, is there some sort of action that we are going to be expected to do? Because I think listening to all of this, which is a good conversation, I do feel like this might be a little bit premature.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Vince.
So there's 2 points in this, Joanna. Good question. If I had my choice, I would prefer to see the committee just discuss this as has happened and not take an action today. Peter is bringing up another good point. He'd like to see, well, what's the town manager's take on this? And also, I do feel a little inadequate that I wish we had town council here to explain it a little bit more as well. There are, I keep calling them subtle differences. They're subtle differences, but we have most everything we need. I've also heard Vicky explain this, and she explains this far better. So rather than seeking an action from the committee today, I think 2 more actions might be needed. More clarity from town council and more guidance from town administration.
Okay. So are we going to schedule that? Peter?
Well, before we answer that, what's our timeline, Vince, for if we decide that a home rule petition has to be created within an article for town meeting? How much time do we have between today and when that has to happen? And that informs us about whether we take a vote or not. It sounds like we don't need to take a vote, but it sounds also like we all need to know what our timeline is.
Well, Joanna might be able to help me with this, but time is getting tight. Effectively, the finance committee will need to have something to read to make a motion on, and then town admin needs time to get the final warrant together. That usually happens something like end of January into February. So not much time will be my way of viewing it. That might be only 1 or 2 crack meetings type time frame.
Okay, so our next meeting, since Leo, we're not meeting again this month. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, so our next meeting is January. I've got my calendar in front of me.
13th.
But, okay, so the next meeting is the 13th. You know, ideally we would have Libby come before us and tell us what's what, but maybe Vince and Leah can communicate with her and find out what she's thinking. Tell her that we had this meeting. Hopefully she watches the video. Tell her we have questions. You know, if she watches the video, she can get that we're not all fired up about having a home rule petition. But she may be. So, I mean, in the end, we're just advising those guys. They could decide to do what they want to do, and they'll want us to chime in, which we will do. But we definitely need more information. So I don't think we need to take a vote. Go ahead, Leah.
If we just proceeded by just saying that, first of all, by consensus, the committee doesn't see any great need or urgency, would that be not necessarily a vote, but by consensus, something that we can carry forward?
Yeah, well, anybody who's listening in on this meeting and anybody who's at this meeting could tell that most of us aren't for this. So you don't have to put a word on it. You could say, or Leah could say, at this meeting, this is what I'm hearing from Crack. And if Libby says, well, I want those guys to vote, then of course we'll take a vote. But sounds like we have a little wiggle room not to take a vote until we have all the information. So yeah, go ahead, Leah.
Thanks, Peter. I just ask maybe we can streamline the questions. So if the committee, you can either email me or maybe we can just do it right now of the particular questions you have, and then we can send those to Vicky to have her look them over and provide written answers. And then maybe at the next meeting in January, she'll be available to come. But just so that the committee can get some clarity between now and then. So what are your particular questions, members, that you'd like to ask legal counsel?
Well, I don't have anything for legal counsel right now, but it'd be great if Libby could come to the meeting, since we're, I mean, she could relay to us what we're asking through you guys, but, since she asked about it in the email to me, maybe she could come to the next meeting.
Yeah, sure. But what are the particular questions so that we can, give her some background and have her be able to answer the questions? Right.
So, I mean, how important is it to the town that we go with the home rule petition? I mean, is it the ball game, or is it everything, or can we go ahead and do some example projects and then go for it, or have the process going on while we're doing that? That would be my question. Anybody else? Go ahead, Doug.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I sent an email to Leah this past week with a list of questions, but I'll reframe that a little more clearly so you'll have them, Leah. Thanks.
Go ahead, Liz.
Thanks, Peter. I wasn't here when we were discussing this initially and did the vote. But my biggest question would be, why did we think that we needed both the home rule and the bylaw? Like, are there other benefits besides not having to specify the mapped CRD? Because it seems like that's the only one, that's the only difference that I see. So like having a list of pros to, I guess, to having the home rule would be helpful to me.
Okay, thanks, Liz. Anybody else?
One
Go
thing.
ahead. Go ahead, Joanna.
The finance committee will not vote on this before the 13th. I just wanted you to know that. Like, we will not vote on this before the 13th.
Okay, that's good to know. Definitely. Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Sounds like we're all set. Sounds like we're pretty much in agreement without a vote that the home rule petition is not the way to go, but we don't have all the facts totally. So we'll wait to hopefully complete and do a vote on the 13th, on January 13th. And I will now take public comment on this item if there's public in attendance. Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Vince, for the presentation, for answering all the questions.
A pleasure.
Okay. Number 5, presentation. Number 6, discussion and decision about having the town's communication office produce the coastal resiliency film. So at the last meeting, we had some people didn't think it was a good idea. Seemed like a majority of us did, but do we have more discussion on this before we take a vote on that? Go ahead, Leah.
Kim has done a little research about having, a short video at the Dreamland or advertisements on the High Line and I think maybe the steamship. So maybe Tim can give a little background about that to help inform the discussion.
Sure. I spoke to both ferries and the Dreamland. Interestingly, neither ferry takes video, has a way to display video. So you can't buy time on their screens. The High Line has a screen that will display stills, which is not what we're talking about, but we could. But and the High Line doesn't. Sorry, the High Line has that. The steamship doesn't even have that. They don't have any way of displaying advertising on their screens. They will put up posters. So in both cases, it's really about a still. That's the only thing they can do there. So they're off the table. The Dreamland has 3 different ways of displaying video. One is they call it lights down. So it's the thing that runs right before the movie begins. Then there's also a loop, which is a little less expensive, that runs for like 30 minutes before the movie begins, but it doesn't have it isn't specially featured, and it's in with a bunch of any other videos that people have paid to have displayed. And then there's a lobby screen that runs in the lobby with sound. Again, that's a little bit cheaper. The range for the 3 goes from about $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month. And they said they would, because it's the town, they would work at some kind of a discount and so on. So I asked them about length, and they said generally 30 seconds. But if we wanted to talk about something longer, they would talk about it. So it's not inexpensive. I mean, to run it, $1,000 a month, that we'd run out of our $10,000 pretty fast. Anyway, that's the deal. The other thing they said is they have they claim to have 90,000 visitors at the Dreamland a year. So, which is more than I would have thought. And I'm not sure it's true, but in any case, that's really that, so that we have one opportunity to run a 30 or maybe a 1 minute video and pay $1,000 to $1,500 a month to do so at the Dreamland. So that's the deal.
And I would think, thank you, Tim, for that. Two things. I'm not crazy. I know that I've been on the Eagle when they had a screen and they showed football games and there was television. So they took that.
There's television, but they don't have any way of inserting other videos. They can only run basically television channels.
Right. And so, but there are other opportunities to show video when people are watching movies, like during the film festival, when there are multiple venues where movies are being shown.
True.
And I'll bet that the film festival people would be cooperative if we said this is a message we're trying to get out to a broad audience. And I know that, a lot of people that go to the movies are people who don't live here, but we would want to try and cast the widest net possible. So
yeah, that's a good idea. I like that idea. Yeah.
And possibly shown in the schools and if possible, a loop at the start of each night of town meeting. And I'm sure that there's lots of other ways we can think of it to get that message out. Okay. Who has something to say on this? Okay, we all talked out from the last time.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I think the question that we're supposed to be discussing is whether we want the town to do this or not.
Right.
Versus farming it out somewhere else. And I would think, I don't know anything about what the videos the town makes. And I wonder if there are examples we could look at.
Do you think there are, Leah?
Yeah, so Florencia sent me some. I'm not sure if they're public yet. I'll just have to ask her. But they've been doing this sort of like, they're calling it Government 101, that they're short videos on each department about what they do. So I can see if I can share those with you all.
Great.
Okay. Joanna?
I mean, for the amount of time that we've spent discussing this is a very small window of even opportunity through which to show any type of a video. So I mean, if we're talking about doing this because we want to create public awareness, we probably need to come up with a different method, right? Because one 30-second to 1 minute video shown at the Dreamland is a drop in the bucket for any type of public education or outreach effort. And so I think that we probably need to go back to the drawing board.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
If we want to create public awareness, all we have to do is say, we're doing this project and here's how we're going to have a meeting and here's how we think we're going to charge you. It'll be front page news in the paper and everyone will show up and go crazy. So, and I think that we don't need to spend $10,000 to try to do it. We just move along with our work on betterments and we'll have plenty of awareness. Thank you.
I don't know. I agree with that, but that's a one-time hit that gets people fired up. I think a general way to reach out to people and say, this is what we do and this is what's going on. It cannot hurt us. And if the town's given us money and we get refreshed with $1 million every year, and they're going to do it, the town's going to pay for to do it. It can't hurt to do something that's on repeat all the time, that's out there all the time, reminding people. And then a project comes along that people are not liking. At least they've been told that this is what we're trying to do. I don't see the logic in not doing this. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I agree, and to some extent with what Joanna was saying about, like, we've spent so much time talking about this, and every time we talk about it, the goal changes a bit and we move the goalpost. I think I love the idea of us doing an informative video, especially if there's money available. and then the town is willing to do something. But I think we have to be really clear about what we want to say. So if it's, once again, going back to the drawing board, if we're going to do a very general, like this is what the Coastal Resiliency Committee is, and it's something that can live on, then great. And then we can put it out on social media. We can have it on the, I'm assuming we can have it on the CRAC website, on the town's website. But if I mean, I think I appreciate Tim for kind of finding out how much things cost at the Dreamland things, because those are way outside of, I think, what our scope and our goal is for our target audience. And so I think I'm still in support of us doing something very general, but we have to dial it down so that it is doable for this volunteer group with some with help from the town. You know, like in terms of this group deciding what is in it, and then having the town help create, or have the town actually create it. But I think, you know, if we're just trying to use the $10,000, I think that's a very slippery slope of, like, you know, it gets then so much bigger than what we had started. I mean, I think when we realized that there was some money that we could use for this, it was like a really great opportunity. And now we're kind of gone down this rabbit hole for multiple meetings in a row. I feel like we either have to, like, be really succinct and move forward, or just like say we're not ready, because I think if we keep talking about it, it's not gonna help. And I think, once again, going back to our original message and our audience, which is the Nantucket community.
Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Pete. Pete, I pretty much agree with what you had said earlier. We have this resource, it's available for us. We've given a lot of direction to the town, so I'd love to see what, you know, or have the committee see what they're starting to come up with. Like, we've given direction, and so let's let that happen and see what's coming out of it. Videos like this are super powerful. You know, nonprofits use these in all sorts of ways on island, and there's many, many venues. I think putting it at the Dreamland in front of a movie for a targeted period of time that makes sense, I think we'll get a lot of feedback on it. You know, I've seen so many as just a parent taking my children to the Dreamland and learned a lot that way. I think we will hit our target audience that way. I think we put it on social media, websites, bring it to the schools. Like you said, there's a lot of ways that we can use this in the direction that we have already given the town for trying to tell people who this committee is and why the work that we're doing is important. So at this point, I think, you know, I don't think we as a committee need to keep rehashing stuff. I think we see what the town's starting to put together, and that it will be something that's valuable for us. We do have this resource, and I think we should use it and then see what the impact is over time.
Thank you, Jen. Before I let Christy go, I just want to say that our target audience is everybody. It's everybody. People who live here, people who come here for the day, people who come here for a weekend, a week, for the summer. If you come here to Nantucket, you should know about this. You never know where our supporters are going to lie. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, no, I just want to show support for the last three speakers. I agree that the resource is available. I do think, as Sarah said, a brief, informative video would be helpful. I do think, though, that the video should be something that is relative, like 5 years from now. Like, we should be able to make one that suits us for years to come and not have to revisit this because we did something that was dated, you know, for this year or next year. It should be a video that covers, you know, the next 5 or 6 years, that is informative now and then, equally. I don't know about, you know, paying funding every year for Dreamland. Maybe an initial release would be the way to go, but I just don't see paying out to the Dreamland for you know, years of showing this. But I do agree with the last three.
Thanks, Christy. Go ahead, Joanna.
I think as I recall this, that all these conversations have been focused on a video that was longer than a minute. And the Dreamland's venue shows 30 seconds to a minute, which is not a lot of time to get our message across. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing this. I mean, if we can all, it's just a clarity of what audience are we going after? I think the Dreamland is a fine thing. I think it will eat up a large amount of the budget. We can make a video that's 30 seconds or a minute long, but it's not going to get to the meat of what we have been talking about. And I think the thing that came up last time was, is there going to be a longer video? Is there an option to show other things? Is that like, that's a marketing effort that is kind of separate from a 30-second to a minute video that would be at the Dreamland or on various social media channels. Right. So I think that really there's two things that we're talking about: this short-term one outreach, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then any type of a longer piece that could be used in another way. I don't think that we shouldn't do it. I think that we should make a decision and move forward.
Agreed, 100%. Go ahead, Leah.
I just want to remind the committee, the film pitch that you all put together and approved has different lengths. So I believe one is 30 minutes, one's a minute, and one's 5 minutes. And there were lots of discussions that when you make that 5-minute video, the producer can be able to, and the editor can be able to edit it down to a 30-second clip to a 1-minute clip. So that's what's in the film pitch.
And I think we should just let the town come up with something. Leah, do you think they have enough direction to get going, or do we have to write all that out for them?
I'll have a meeting again with Florencia to go over the film pitch. There's a lot of information in there. I know when she came to the last meeting, she said kind of like 5 topics to touch on. And then we can go from there. So there are some topics in the film pitch, but I guess if there's any, ideas off the top of your head, just share them right now so that I can streamline this and have a meeting with Florencia. And if that's what the committee wants to go with, is with the town, then if you guys can just make a vote so that we have a direction where we're going and we're not like spiraling and talking about the same stuff meeting after meeting.
I agree. We can talk it to death and get nothing done. Go ahead. Wait, Hillary, did you have something to say, or are you all set?
Well, I was going to make the motion. I mean, I agree with, I think we've given a lot of, but if Christy wanted to say something before motion, go ahead.
Go ahead, Christy.
Just very brief, I was going to just ask Leah, if you do set up a meeting with her and maybe throw it out to the committee, you may get a few committee members that would join you in that meeting, and just might be helpful for bouncing ideas and just finalizing this.
Thanks. I agree with that. Go ahead, Hillary.
I'd like to make a motion to to move ahead with asking the town communications department to create a public awareness video about crack in the town and the coastal resiliency effort, to be organized by Leah and keep us informed. Is that the motion you wanted, Peter?
Yes.
Okay.
Just the qualifier that it'll include various lengths of the video, but yes. Yep.
Yeah, that they decide on the best length and maybe produce more than one length.
Okay, we'll take a second from somebody.
Second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Christy Kickham.
Aye.
Jen Carberg.
Aye.
Sarah Boyce.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Liz Phelps.
Aye.
Joanna Roach.
Aye.
Doug Rose.
Abstain.
Matt Fee.
Aye.
Hillary Hedges report.
Aye.
Gary Beller.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Well, I didn't ask for public comment on that one, but we don't have any members of the public. Well, yes, we do. We got Emily Junkins. You want to add anything, Emily? Okay. Okay, so committee members' coastal resilience recommendations to the select board to be discussed at a future meeting. As I've said at the last meeting, this is going to stay on our agenda if anybody had anything they wanted to throw out there. If not, we'll move on to new business. Committee and Natural Resources Department reports from Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board, Select Board, Advisory Committee of Non-Voting Taxpayers, and other committee members. Any reports? Joanna, you want to say something?
I do. We brought this up at the last meeting. And I know the couple things about this, the topic I continually talk about, which is dollars, right? So one of the things that I wanted to see was an accounting of the dollars that had been spent that we have raised, right? So I think that we should have as part of our packets, an accounting of the dollars that we have raised through the $1 million appropriation and what it's been earmarked for or spent for, like a running list. That's part of the agenda packet so that we can know what the money is for and where it is going, because I think that's important. And then because when Jeff came and spoke with us, this also came up. And then I think, and I know that via Capcom, you guys have been reviewing the fertilizer request, which does, I think, have some crossover with the Coastal Resiliency Committee. I think it would be great if this committee was able to read that proposal and be able to speak to it. But I do think that we don't have at our fingertips the money information, and I think it's important.
All right, thanks, Joanna. Go ahead, Leah.
I can answer that or comment on that. So Jeff and I went to Capcom last week, and I'm for internal review, there's a document of justification of the $1 million a year because they're questioning that, whether they're going to fund it this year or not.
Yep.
And then within that is how much has already been spent or allocated to be spent through contracts. And then the like I'm putting it in quotes extra money because it's not really extra, what that would be spent on in the next year or so. So that will be sent to Capcom this week, and then I can share it with you all.
Thanks, Leah. Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, I just wanted to just basically support what Leah just said. We did meet with them. Capital Committee is certainly not critical of use of funds, but we are eager to know, how those funds are used. And like to review that. Obviously, it's retro. We look at the year on the past year to see how funds have been used. So we are keeping an eye on that. And I think Leah's has a lot of information already for us, and so we will be reviewing that. But I think it will be an important component as we, review this request each year and in out years. Who knows, as things progress, maybe that fund might get bigger. It might get smaller if we are sort of attaching more funding directly to projects. But I know the funds are very useful and flexible for the department. So anyway, just wanted to say that from the Capital Committee side.
Thanks for that, Christy. Go ahead, Tim.
Excuse me. Yeah. Leah, did we want to talk about the Concom issue?
No,
I don't think so.
we put
No.
that off until, well, just so you guys know, but we're not going to talk about it because it's not on the agenda. A property owner down on Washington Street is asking for our, asking for us to advise the Conservation Commission on his application. You all can reach out to Leah for that application. We're not going to discuss it here because it is not on the agenda, and we've told that person that we will consider it at our next meeting. So it's not proper for us to talk about it, but there is a property owner who is doing a coastal resilience-esque project and is looking for our advice. So I'll
Can I
leave it
just
at that.
add to that, Peter?
I really don't want to.
I know, but I just want to clarify because
Okay.
it's what you're saying seems like it's sneaky or something. It's
No.
not. It's been Concom asked on Friday when the agenda was already posted if it
Right.
could be on. And I also got an email on Monday from the engineer to see if it could be on. And so Peter and I decided that does not give the committee enough time to be able to review it thoroughly and answer, all of the questions that we've put together for the protocol, which the protocol hasn't been approved yet, which is going to happen in January. So there were just a lot of playing, matters that played into it. So we said that it would have to wait until the next meeting. That's what's going to happen.
Okay. I wasn't being
If I could
sneaky.
just clarify, if I could.
Wait, hold on, Tim.
Okay.
There,
sorry.
you got to put your hand up, and Joanna Roach's hand is up, and then Hillary.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the money thing because I think this is really, really important. It is not a guarantee that the coastal resiliency efforts will get $1 million in the budget in 2026 or for the 2027 budget. Like, it is not a guarantee. There are $260 million in CapEx requests. We are starting to go through this. I got a heads up from the chair of the finance committee that the Capcom was not, to Christie's point, was looking at this and that this was not a guarantee. So I think that's very important information for this committee to know, because we have been talking about this $1 million like it is a thing that we're going to get every year. And if we are going to advocate for this money, then my suggestion would be that this group writes a letter immediately to the Capcom and to the finance committee and says that this is important and justifies the request, because otherwise I will be in a hearing and be asked to vote on this and I won't have a lot of backup, right? That's one of the reasons why I think it's important to be attached to our agendas, the money part of this. And I think like that shows that we're serious about our progress. So I cannot state the importance of this like enough. If we all feel strongly that we want this money, we have to advocate for it.
Okay, so are you suggesting then that a letter is written between now and the January 13th meeting that the committee would approve, that on that date, Leah would be able to send it? Is that what you're saying, Joanna?
Yes, I think that we have to, I mean, I will speak for myself. So not as a member of the finance committee right now, as a member of the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee. If this group feels strongly that we should support and advocate for this $1 million that we've gotten in the last couple of years, then this body of people should write a letter and make sure that it gets read into the record at the Capcom meeting, at the FinCom meeting, and to the select board, that this money is critical to advance the agenda of this group. 100% we should be doing that.
How do you feel about writing that letter yourself?
Well, I think it would be good. I would be happy to help, but I think that Leah should be the author of this for our group, and we can weigh in.
Okay, go ahead, Hillary. You're muted.
I was going to speak about grants and things, and the various planning boards, but if it's, maybe we should just continue this thread and nail down Joanna's request. So I yield my time.
Right. Yeah, the $1 million is our baseline funding at this point, so it's something we can't live without. We need to build up that account. Go ahead, Leah.
I just wanted to ask Christy what the timing is for Capcom to rate the coastal resilience money, and because I'm unfamiliar with that process. Like, when will they decide if they support it or not?
Yeah, probably. Pete, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Christy.
First week or two in January. We won't be deciding it before, but we will be discussing it. As you know, we're waiting for some information from you. Once we have that, we'll start that more thorough review process. And just from the capital committees, just historically, we've started how this has come up. We've started reviewing a lot of town requests that have some annual requests. For example, sidewalks, cobblestone repair. These are annual requests that we get, and questions have come up in the past few years about balances, and some of these have hefty balances and they're not using the funds. And so I tend to think coastal resiliency funding is a little different. For me, I think it's a little more volatile than those other examples. So I think that the balance is not a bad thing. I think it's still very helpful. And as we know, things are only just going to get more and more expensive. So that's sort of a little direction from how the capital committee looks at things. I differ from someone like my capital committee members on how I feel about that. On those other examples I used, it was an easy, easy decisions. It was based on basically, DPW not having manpower or a time of year they weren't able to get it done. So this is to me very different. But we do need to sort of get that the details so that we can just better track funding and how it works, and that would help us make decisions. But it is a little split at the committee at this point.
And so, Christy, do we have time to write the letter and send it off on the 13th of January? Or
yeah, I mean, I would say the sooner the better. We don't like to get, well, no committee likes to get information the day before they have to vote on things. So whatever the sooner the better would be great. I know that you're saying 13th, was that our next meeting?
That's our next meeting.
All right. I have capital committee today, so let me see if that can work, if we can propose and approve a letter that day, if that works.
Can I ask Christy a follow-up question?
Yes, go ahead.
Christy, would it be helpful when Capcom is discussing the $1 million, once the information is given to the committee, that some of CRAC members come to that meeting, like how Jeff had a couple landscapers about the fertilizer program come and advocate for that funding in person?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, encouraged. Absolutely.
And when is that meeting?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know exactly the day of it, but I'll find out and get it to Leah and staff.
And that'll be after the holidays, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's my understanding, but I'll find out today for sure.
When we had Libby come and talk to us and we asked her all the questions about various funding avenues, she was pretty adamant about how there's always going to be $1 million coming from town meeting. So I'm a little kind of shocked that we're hearing that it's not a done deal every year. Right, go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Pete. I just wonder, and I really appreciate this conversation and having this information. It would have been nice to have been thinking about it a month ago that this was important for us to advocate for. I wonder if, given the timelines on things, and Leah, I don't want to speak for your time at all, but if we as a committee could potentially approve a letter that's not within a standing meeting, is that something that we can either just direct you to do with approval now based on just advocating for the fact that this is, money that it would be great to have accessible for us next year, or approve something, a vote via email kind of thing, or even just a special call meeting of a half an hour or something. It just sounds like that January 13th date has the potential to be a little late for this timeline. So I don't want to push for work in a time frame that I know is already very challenging, but I'm just curious if there's a way to get around that.
Thanks, Jen. Go ahead, Leah.
So you can't vote via email, but you could, which has happened in the past, someone could make a motion for whoever to write a letter, and then have it, approved by you all without actually reading the letter beforehand. So yes, you can do that. Peter could also decide to have a short meeting, which I think might be helpful, between, maybe next week or something, early next week, to have this just on the agenda, so that we can discuss it. I've already put together like 2 pages of justification and why we need the money, and then also why it's important not to spend all of the money, right? Because if we don't have any funding, we can't be applying for grants, because they're reimbursable. You need to have the match, all of that stuff. So, but I will say, like, when I did say that at the Capcom, the chair was like, no, all the money should be spent. So I think it is a bit split whether, even though there still is funding within that Article 10 currently. So I think, there's got to be like maybe some more robust justification for keeping sort of that pot of money there.
Well, when you write that letter, and hopefully when people go to the meeting, the chairman needs to understand that we're not, coastal resilience isn't as immediate as projects that need to get done coming up in the next fiscal year. You know, we're planning for the future and having that money there for when we need to go for the grant, and when we do a project, we shouldn't be required to spend it when we don't have anything to spend it on right away. We're padding our account, I think. Go ahead, Joanna.
I explained this to her about the grants and the matching and the reimbursable. So I think that there's an understanding of that. If I would suggest that we write the letter right now, this is not hard, right? Like this is like 2 or 3 paragraphs where we say the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee met on December 9th. We understand that there's some conversation regarding the $1 million allocation, and we strongly urge you to keep this in the budget for the following reasons: 1, 2, 3, and done. Because I mean, like, we're all right here right now. Does
I'll
anybody
make a
have?
motion to that effect if I can.
Sure, Matt.
I second it.
Okay. Roll call vote. Joanna Roach.
Hold on,
Aye.
Peter.
Yes.
Because this wasn't an agenda item, and now we're
Wasn't?
discussing it and
Okay.
trying to
you're
make
right.
approvals,
You're right.
I think it's a little slippery slope that it may be an open meeting law. You know, I just don't want.
Isn't
Okay.
it come under new business? I mean, that's what I thought that I was bringing this up under. It would have been impossible to put this on the agenda. I just learned
Yeah,
of this like last week.
We can, if it's come up, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead, Hillary. You want to elaborate?
If we could not foresee that it should be on the agenda and it's urgent because of the timing of another meeting, and especially given the nature of this, which is just to make a request and not actually do anything, I don't think we're in any danger of violating the open meeting law.
Okay, I see Matt giving the thumbs up. So Matt, I'm deferring to you and Hillary
You can.
and Joanna
I'll
that
let
this is
let them
okay.
yell at me. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I do too.
All right. I'm going to restart the roll call vote. Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Jen Carberg,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Christy Kickham,
Aye.
Hillary Hedges Rayport,
Aye.
Doug Rose,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Gary Beller.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So are we going to have a meeting between now and, well, 18th is when I take off. So we're going to have a meeting coming up on the 16th to approve this letter.
No, the motion was to write the letter right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I'll share my screen and then
Wait,
I'll type whatever you guys say.
hold on a minute. Hold a minute. I went right past Tim Brain. He had something to say on the previous topic, and I want to make sure he gets to say what he wants to say.
It can wait till next meeting. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Go. Matt, you had your hand up?
Oh, yeah. My motion was to follow, to have Leah write what Joanna just said and add the 3 reasons and get it sent. I don't think we need to, as a committee, I don't think we need to micromanage that. I think Leah was saying she had 2 or 3 good reasons at least, and make it short and sweet.
Okay. What do you think, Leah?
So I've got I have two pages. It seems like your letter is through Joanna was going to be shorter. So if we can just put those 3 reasons down and I'll write the rest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes, Joanna.
So I think that after we do this, as Leah submits it, she just sends us a copy, or a copy goes on to our next set, or it goes with our sets of minutes, right? This is not, like, procedurally, that's how to do this.
Right. We've approved her sending a letter. She's going to write it. It's going to get sent out this week, probably.
Right. We just need to be given a copy of it.
Of course. Christy?
Should this be addressed to the Finance Committee also?
Joanna?
I think it should be copied to the Finance Committee and to the Board of
Okay.
Selectmen. I think it should be to the Capital Committee because that's going to take priority over finance at first.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Are
Okay,
we all
so
set?
3
Go ahead.
reasons. What are the
Yep.
3 reasons from crack or more?
Sarah?
Sorry, I was quicker with my regular hand. What I think the main reason is that, or to me, is the grant. Like we need to have the money available so that we have that as reimbursement for grants. Like everything we've all said, but I think that's one of the most important because also it shows that we're actively seeking other funds, but we need that as leverage.
Okay.
Okay. Christy?
Just a question for Leah. Leah, since we've been funding this, has there been a year that we have exceeded the request? Just because that would have good weight as far as saying, listen, we come under, we go over, that's how the fund, that's how it works, with us and what our efforts are. I just was curious if you recall if we've exceeded request funding any years.
I'll have to look back on the documents that the finance department sent me. I feel like one of the years it did go over, but I would have to look at that.
Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
My only thought was, I don't know that we have to try too hard to come up with 3 discrete reasons. I think if you've got one really solid argument, which it sounds like we have around grant applications, I would imagine that makes a sufficient rationale. I'm not close to it, but that would seem to be reasonable to me. Thanks.
Okay, Doug, go ahead. Thanks, Doug. Go ahead, Joanna.
I would make sure that if there's any, see, again, this is why if we had an ongoing tracking of this money, we'd be able to spit these reasons out. So like Leah, what the money that we spent for last year, I think we should just give a little historical snippet of like last year we spent X on this and anticipate spending X on that. Right. So that they know that this money, like 1, we're counting on it. 2, we've already appropriated it. And 3, it's how we move forward. Right. So I do think that the number 1 thing is the reimbursable grants, but then I think numbers 2 and 3 are about those, what I just said. Right.
Thanks, Joanna. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and I think sort of highlighting that there's some large projects like the Steamship Authority that we need to be involved in and that are going to be substantial and are going to happen soon. And we need to, that's just one example that we all use. There's things like that we are working on and we'll be working on a lot more in the near future. So we can't be waiting at that point. So I just think there's things like that can be, I'm not saying it very well, I'd probably write it better, but I would just tie in that this is an expense and it's ongoing and it's, so anyway, I don't know if that made sense.
Well, the annual money is our buy-in at the table every single time. We can't play this game at all without having money, and we can't just wait till the town decides, oh, here's your money this year, but next year you don't get it. Oh, we sorry, you can't do that project. And go ahead, Joanna.
Peter, but that's actually not how this is, right? It's if this money comes through capital program every year, then it gets approved every year. It's not an automatic appropriation.
Right.
So I think that is a very important distinction for this committee to understand, right? It's not an automatic appropriation. It's coming through the capital committee every year, which means it has to get voted on. And
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that. I'm saying we need to keep the money coming. We need to fight for it. I completely understand.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Are we good? All silence. Are you good, Leah?
Yeah, I'll put it together.
Okay. Okay. All right. So discussion of upcoming meeting dates and future topics, future meeting topics. January 13th, 2005 at 10 a.m. is our next meeting. The December 23rd, 2025 meeting is canceled.
Oh, come on. You don't want to meet on December 23rd?
You all want to come out to Minneapolis where it's going to be half as warm as it is today. Be my guest. We'll have an in-person meeting. No? Okay. All right. Motion to adjourn from
Peter,
somebody?
sorry, before that,
Okay. You just-
under the last agenda item, we forgot to mention to say thank
I'm
you to
sorry.
Jen
Yep.
Carberg
You're right.
for all
I'm
her
sorry.
hard work since this
That's-
is her last meeting.
Totally my fault. Thank you so much, Jen, for committing to us for 6 years. Also, thanks for being on the Concom, working for NCF, being on Sustainable Nantucket's Market Committee, all the things that you've done for our community, and just for being an awesome person that we get to be around for all that time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's been an honor to serve Nantucket, and I miss you guys.
I bet the sledding's better out there.
Oh, it's top notch, and they're going. I was telling them earlier, we've got 1.5 feet of snow already, and it's not leaving. So if anyone wants winter wonderland, come on out to Michigan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Joanna Roach, seconded by Doug Rose. Roll call vote. Doug Rose,
Aye.
Jane Carberg,
Aye.
Sarah Boyce,
Aye.
Christy Kickham,
Aye.
Liz Phelps,
Aye.
Hillary Rayport.
Aye.
And is that what you want me to do going forward, is Hillary Rayport, and not say your middle name?
Oh,
Because you just have your
I was just trying to get in the meeting in a big hurry because I was late, so I didn't type everything in.
Okay. Joanna Roach,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
and I did Christy and Liz, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
We're adjourned, and I want to welcome Emily Junkins for the NCF going
Aye.
forward, and Gary Beller. Yep. Okay, we're adjourned.
Awesome. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye.